Hello, my name is Amanda Grover. I am the Tax Program Coordinator for VITA Services for West Michigan. VITA stands for Volunteer Income Tax Assistance, and we provide free tax preparation for people in West Michigan. First, I want to thank you for joining me for this module. I hope all the questions that you have regarding the program and becoming a volunteer are answered. But if you do have any further questions, always know that you can feel free to contact me through email or by phone, whatever's most convenient for you. My contact information will be available at the end of this webinar, and it's all over our informational material throughout the community as well. So VITA, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. Why is it important in our community, and why should you volunteer for the program? So people are considered moderate to low income regarding this program if they have an adjusted gross income of $60,000 or less. The program aims to assist low to moderate income families in making sure that they're having their taxes prepared free of charge and that they're done accurately so that they can claim all of the credits that they're entitled to. The IRS estimates that 1 in 5 families are not claiming the earned income tax credit that they're eligible for. What the earned income tax credit can do is provide a huge refund for taxpayers. We want to make sure that our families are receiving this credit if they're entitled to it so that they can use this money for their other household costs throughout the year. So we have several tax preparation sites that we do the taxes at. In Muskegon County, we have 4 sites right now secured for the upcoming tax season. The hours listed and the days listed on this page were from last year. We anticipate that the schedule will be similar, although we're ready to make alterations to any schedule should the need be. We have a site at Baker College, at Community and Compass, Sacred Suds, the Goodwill Corporate Office on Apple Avenue, as well as the Holton Public Library. In Newaygo County, True North Community Service is our tax site, and we do hope to have evening hours available this year. And then we have a site in Oceana County at the Hart City Hall. So a lot of people want to know, why should they get certified to do taxes? Why should they learn how to do taxes to prepare taxes for other people? One, it can be very rewarding. This is a volunteer experience where you can go in and assist people and have an immediate impact on their lives. I prepared tax returns for hundreds of people and have gotten returns of all sorts of sizes. It's also an opportunity to connect families to other resources. For example, last year the Affordable Care Act left many people with questions, so we were able to have people call a number and get enrolled in healthcare. So we are able to connect family with a lot of different resources at the tax sites. You're able to help the local economy as well. There's not a lot of opportunities you have to go in and volunteer and make a difference of $3,000 in someone's life. But also know that with that $3,000, people are going out and spending that money right here within our community, and that it has a big impact. Last year, more than 2,700 people were assisted with VITA services, and that brought back a local impact of more than $3.2 million. It's a great opportunity to network too. You can meet other volunteers as well as people in our community that you're preparing taxes for. You can use these volunteer hours for school, professional, or any other volunteer requirement that you might have. We've had a lot of student interns. It's a great way to develop a new professional skill or to hone an old one that you may just need to get caught up on. So it's a great way to learn something new, and it's actually very easy if you go ahead and break it down and just keep an open mind about learning something new. So what do you need at a tax site? The biggest things that we need are the volunteers and tax staff. We do all of the tax preparations online using tax software provided by the IRS. But the biggest piece are the volunteers and staff. So we need each site to have a site coordinator and at least 1 volunteer. There needs to be at least 2 preparers total, so that can include the site coordinator, but it's also very helpful to have greeters there too. So how do you become certified? I keep talking about VITA certification, and what is that? So each person that's at a VITA site, whether they're a greeter or a tax preparer, every volunteer for the program must be certified through the IRS. It basically gives the program some legitimacy and ensures that the tax training is up to the IRS standards. So the first thing that all volunteers need to complete is the Volunteer Standards of Conduct. This is an online training that's provided through an IRS module, and there is a brief quiz after. During the introduction module that I have available on our website, it provides all the information you'll need to know for the Volunteer Standards of Conduct exam. Next is the screening and interviewing information, and that's also available through the IRS website, linklearncertification.com. And this is required of all volunteers as well, so that you know how to use the documents that the IRS requires. Next, you can certify to either a basic level or an advanced level. We encourage all of our tax preparers to certify to advanced level. It only takes about 4 more income sources to learn how to use those, and it really prepares you for everything you could see at a tax site. If you certify to basic level, then you're only certified to do basic exams, and that basically means that there could be some issues with timing, and it's a little less convenient. So in short, I would just encourage everyone to certify to the advanced level. If you do the advanced level, you do not have to take the basic level first. You can go right to the advanced exam and directly learn all of the advanced materials. Some of the optional certifications, so a lot of people have health savings accounts or people have situations with cancellation of debt. If any of those things apply to you personally, I encourage you to take one of the optional certification courses. It doesn't take that much longer, and we are beginning to see more and more of the health savings accounts and the cancellation of debt at our tax sites. Some of the other certifications, if they apply to you, you may have an interest in learning those so that you can complete tax returns properly that deal with these items. There's the foreign tax returns, there's the military, Puerto Rico, and international certifications as well. We do have several volunteers that certify to a military level, and that's because they may have family members in the service or may just want to give back to service members. Again, all of these are available for your leisure to go ahead and use as you'd like, and we would like to encourage you to utilize anything that you can. So what does a tax site look like, and how does it operate? So first of all of our tax sites operate on by appointment. People will see our promotional material, our marketing material, or maybe hear about the program through word of mouth, and they're told to contact 211. The appointment specialist at Call 211 provides information to each caller. They screen them to make sure that they're eligible for the program, which basically just means that they earn $60,000 or less and fall within our basic scope of tax returns that we can prepare. Once the client has been screened, they're set up by either location or time, whatever they prefer, and the eligibility specialist through Call 211 will set them up with an appointment and let them know what tax documents to bring with them to their appointment. When the client arrives to the site to have their taxes prepared, they're greeted either by a greeter or a tax preparer, and then the tax preparer will go through, check to make sure that they have all their documents and that they're there for the correct appointment time, and also helps them fill out the intake and interview form. Next, the client comes in and they meet with the tax preparer. The tax preparer explains the process and goes through the intake and interview form that they filled out. Next, they go through and prepare the return. After they prepare the return, a site coordinator or another volunteer checks the return to see if there's any errors. They also check and make sure that it's complete and to make sure to see if the client has any questions. After the return has been reviewed, the tax preparer will print it out and review all the information on the return. They'll get the signature so that the client can have their return submitted electronically by e-file, and then the return is indicated that it's correct, that it's complete, and that the client can leave. At that time, the client leaves with their copy of the tax return, and at the end of the day, the site coordinator will go through and submit everything electronically. So what about clients who aren't eligible for the program or who don't get an appointment? So although we have a great amount of volunteers, we usually still have an unmet need. And for those clients that are able to get in for an appointment, we always encourage them to use My Free Taxes. We also encourage people to use My Free Taxes if they typically use a self-preparation website like TurboTax or another competitor. MyFreeTaxes.com is available to anyone for free tax preparation for both their federal and their state returns. The only requirement is that the person or family earns less than $60,000 of adjusted gross income in that tax year. This is something that is a huge resource to people in the community, and we've really worked in the last couple years on marketing this option for people. So I like to emphasize the role of the greeter because sometimes tax preparers have to play greeter as well. At some of our busier sites, we try to have a greeter on at all times, but some of our slow sites, and sometimes we just don't have the availability to have a volunteer to come in to greet. But what a greeter basically does is they go through the screening and interviewing process with our clients that come in. They make sure that all the IRS codes of conduct are being followed, and I'll go through those a little bit later in part one of the training modules. They first just verify client's ID and make sure that the client has all of the proper documentation with them, and they'll check and make sure that the client is there for their correct appointment time. They can print and view the appointment schedule and help keep things on track for the tax preparers. They can also provide appointment reminder calls if there's any downtime. At some of our busier sites, a lot of people need help filling out the intake and interview form, and they also may have questions on the form itself. So it's great to have someone there and available to answer any questions. I'd say it takes about a total of 3 hours between all the different trainings of the volunteer standards of conduct and that exam, as well as the screening and interview training, and a little bit of time on site to learn some of the ins and outs of that particular site. As a tax preparer, what will you do? So you'll fill in for greeting if that needs to happen and be able to welcome people as they come to the tax site. With that, again, you'll have to make sure you take the VITA volunteer standards of conduct as well as the intake and interview training, but you'll also want to try to pass for your advanced certification. Again, you can do basic certification, but it's highly encouraged that you go straight to the advanced level of certifying. At that time, you'll learn about all of these different items over here that you'll prepare on the tax return, and you'll be able to prepare the tax returns themselves. So it sounds like a lot of information that you'll have to know and learn and use. So what all is available for you? Luckily, there's a lot of resources and they're right at your fingertips. So the intake and interview form is the first form that's listed. There's going to be hundreds of those between the different tax sites, and they're going to be available for clients to fill out. The intake and interview form gives a good jumping off point for the tax preparer to go through the information with the client. It's a way to confirm the information they've provided and is also a great way so that you don't have to keep asking the same questions and so that the client doesn't have to keep repeating the same information. Also available to you is a volunteer resource guide. All of the topics that we talk about throughout the modules of this training sessions will have designated topic item tabs within the 4012. You'll be able to use this as a quick resource guide, and it really helps by providing a lot of different decision trees for you to use. Next is the Federal Income Tax Guide, the publication 17. That's basically like a dictionary for all terms and all situations related to tax preparation. It's not something we use a whole lot, but it does provide a lot of detail if you do come across a really sticky situation. If there's any information within the modules that I cover that you want to review in further detail, there's a volunteer training guide created by the IRS on publication 4491. These trainings are all set up from the 4491 in a consolidated format that also provides some quick tricks and tips in order to certify to get your VITA certification. There's a problem and exercise guide. That's something that you'll use a whole lot as you're getting started. This basically just gives practice problems for you to do in the software so that you can get familiar with TaxWise and the online software and preparing some of our tax returns. It's called the 4491W, and it has a lot of great examples and situations. You do receive the test, the certification exam, before you even need to take it. The test and retest is called publication 6744, and you have that before you even get started on it. It's a module that's set up to provide you the questions so you can go through and take your time answering questions. There's also a lot of different resources available to you online. There's a Link and Learn certification in which there's a module regarding how to access all of the different IRS information and certification exams. There's also the website we use called Volunteer Hub, or that's what I call it. The website is www.abc-volunteerhub.com, and that's available for you to sign up for your volunteer shifts as well as in-person trainings. So if you have any questions about using that, feel free to let me know after you review that module. There's hard copies of everything that's available. Again, those can be accessed either through Link Learn certification, and I email them out. I also do get hard copies of the intake and interview forms and the volunteer publications 4012, and I will email out the information when those are available. Those typically come in by the beginning of November during the tax season. Many of the items I have from last year, so if there's something that you want to get started on prior to the current year coming in, feel free to let me know. A lot of the time the publications don't change a whole lot from year to year. So if you want to get a jump start on everything, know that that's available. All those products that I do have are available, first come, first serve. The VITA newsletters are something that I like to emphasize. They're a great resource, and I know sometimes it's hard to take the time to look through some of the emails, but it really does have a lot of information that's going to make your life easier as a volunteer on site. So make sure that you're staying on top of the VITA newsletters that I email out. During the tax season, those come out about once a month, but leading up to tax season, they're coming out every other week or every week just to make sure that you're in the loop of information. So a lot of people will say, okay, well, you've just provided a lot of information, a lot of various resources. How do I work through all of this? So first, what you'll want to do is go and learn federal tax law and get some training on the federal tax law knowledge. Then you'll want to go to the tax software and look at how to prepare that information. So you'll take the information you learned through the modules and actually apply it into the tax software. The tax software luckily does a lot of the work for you, but you'll have to know how to use it. And so once you get through some of the practice, you'll be able to take your certification test. And then after your certification test, you'll still probably want to do more practice. It never hurts to practice, and there's plenty of examples either through your 4491W, or you can work on family and friends tax returns. And another volunteer, either a site coordinator or myself, the program coordinator, will go through these tax returns with you. There are several options to using all this material. So there's federal tax law training as well as state tax law training. I encourage you, just for the purposes of certification, just to focus on the federal tax law training, because there's no sort of test or certification regarding state tax law. With the federal tax law training, you can do that either in person or through modules. So these are moderated modules. There's also Link and Learn, basically like PowerPoint slides you can go through the Link and Learn website that the IRS has set up. I have this TaxWise software that I can work with you in person, or you can go through some of the modules and try to get some exposure to the TaxWise software in that manner. I'm happy to sit down and meet with people and work with them one-on-one or in a class setting. You just let me know if there's a need that you have that you don't see listed, and I'm happy to work with you on that. So why should you certify? Why would you go through all this work and certification? Mostly just so that you're comfortable in preparing the tax returns. And that's what the certification process is really designed to do, is to set you up to make sure that that you have a basic understanding of what you're going to see at the tax sites. To be completely honest, the tax returns that we do at the tax sites are usually very simple. However, the certification process really gives you an overview of everything you could possibly see at the tax site. It helps you get used to using your resource material, and know that the certification itself you can take twice and you only have to get an 80% to pass, and you can also use any of your resource material to take it. It's not timed, so you can start the certification and work on it as you need. You just have to be certified to do taxes by February 1st when you come for the first day of the tax season. Volunteer protection. So the certification is twofold. One, it makes our program more legitimate, and two, it also provides protection to you as a volunteer. As long as you're doing a return that's within your scope, so if you're doing a basic return, you're only doing, if you're only certified to basic, you're only working on basic returns. Or if you're doing an advanced return, you can do advanced or basic returns, basically is what that means. But you're staying within the scope of what you know. And as long as you do that, then you're covered under the Volunteer Information Act. So the certification is also twofold. It really protects you as a volunteer. So you're covered under the Volunteer Liability Act, and it makes you not personally liable for any mistakes that are made on the return. If there is a mistake, which happens very rarely, that's something that I can work with the taxpayer on correcting. But you personally are never responsible for anything that happens while you're on a VITA site if you're doing a return that's within the VITA scope. So I've provided a lot of information and people typically get overwhelmed at this point. I like to give people a few tips on completing certification. One, don't try to memorize everything. You're not going to. That's exactly what the resource material is available for. It's there for you to use. You will get used to it and you'll get used to it more and more the more you practice, but just know that you aren't going to be real quick during your first few tax returns. It's just going to take some time to get to know and to get used to. Get accustomed with the TaxWise online software. It really does most of the work for you, but you obviously have to know how to use it. If you need any extra time working with TaxWise and need help with that, that's what I'm here for. Just let me know. There's a few of the things that we're going to go through these modules that can be a little bit tricky. So these are my best thing. My best tip is to know the different qualifications for the earned income tax credit, for the child tax credit, understand dependency, and understand what it means to be head of household. If you have those things down, going through many of our tax returns is a piece of cake after that. Know that the volunteer resource guide, that publication 4012, is available. I cannot emphasize it enough as to how important and how much easier life can be once you get used to using that resource guide and know how it works. Get used to locating information in it prior to coming to the tax sites, and everything will go much more quickly for you. And no, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay to do that whether you're going through your certification process, whether you're going through any of your training, or even when you're at the tax site. We all work together to provide a quality product for clients and make sure that all tax returns are done complete and accurate. So please know that you can ask any questions at the tax site from other tax preparers as well as the site coordinator. If you get stuck, know that there's always me as a resource that you can turn to if you have a question. Lastly, this is my contact information. Feel free to contact me if you have any questions. There's so much more material covered in the upcoming modules, but if you have something that comes up immediately, please let me know. Thank you so much for your time and for your interest in being a part of something great.